The story takes place in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, a charming coastal city known for its historic architecture and vibrant art scene. The Crimson Crown Theatre, a grand old venue with a rich history, serves as the central location for the drama. Once a hub for vaudeville performances, the theatre now hosts high-profile galas and charity events, attracting the city's elite. Characters: 1. Liam Carter, formerly Daniel, a 34-year-old costume designer known for his innovative and theatrical creations. Liam is passionate about his work but struggles with trusting people, especially after his wife's betrayal. He's introspective and fiercely loyal, which makes the betrayal cut even deeper. 2. Sophia Carter, formerly Samantha, a 32-year-old socialite and event planner. Sophia is elegant, ambitious, and manipulative. She's the kind of woman who always gets what she wants, even if it means stepping on others. Her charm masks a calculating nature, and she's willing to go to extreme lengths to protect her image. 3. Ethan Carter, formerly Adam, Liam's 29-year-old younger brother. Ethan is charismatic but insecure, always living in Liam's shadow. He resents his brother's success and sees Sophia as his ticket to power and recognition. However, his involvement in the scheme comes with a heavy price. 4. Officer Rebecca Hayes, a no-nonsense detective in her late 30s who becomes involved in the case after Liam presents the evidence. She's skeptical at first but quickly realizes the depth of the conspiracy. 5. Maggie Turner, a 60-year-old stage manager at the Crimson Crown Theatre. Maggie has worked there for decades and knows every inch of the building. She becomes an unexpected ally to Liam, helping him uncover the truth. Updated plot details: new dramatic element. Sophia isn't just having an affair with Ethan, she's also embezzling funds from Liam's business to finance a secret project, a rival theater company she plans to launch with Ethan. The project is codenamed Phoenix Rising, symbolizing her desire to rise from the ashes of her marriage and take control of the local art scene. The Hidden Room, the forgotten wing of the Crimson Crown Theatre, isn't just a storage area, it's a secret meeting place for Sophia and Ethan. The room is filled with blueprints, financial documents, and even a prototype of the Phoenix Rising logo. Liam discovers a hidden camera in the room, which has recorded their conversations. Sophia's manipulation: Sophia doesn't just stage a domestic violence accusation, she also plants false evidence in Liam's studio to make it look like he's been stealing from his own clients. This twist adds another layer of tension and forces Liam to prove his innocence on multiple fronts. Part 1. The discovery. It was an hour into the charity gala when Liam first noticed something was off. Sophia had been mingling with the guests, her laughter ringing out like a perfectly rehearsed melody. But then she slipped away, her emerald green gown trailing behind her as she disappeared down a dimly lit hallway near the stage. Liam frowned. Sophia wasn't one to leave her audience for long, not when she was the center of attention. "Where are you going?" he muttered under his breath, setting his champagne glass on a nearby table. He followed her, his footsteps echoing softly on the polished wooden floor. The hallway was lined with faded posters from the theater's vaudeville days, their colors muted by time. Liam kept his steps light, careful not to make any noise. Ahead, he caught a glimpse of Sophia's gown as she turned a corner. His pulse quickened. What was she doing back here? This area was supposed to be off-limits to guests. He rounded the corner and stopped dead in his tracks. Through a frosted glass window, he saw her, Sophia, his wife. She was leaning against the wall, laughing softly, her hand resting on the chest of a man in a silver wolf mask. The way she touched him, it wasn't friendly. It wasn't innocent. Liam's stomach twisted, and he felt the blood drain from his face. Heat flushed through him, and his heart pounded in his ears. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. And then, the man removed his mask. Ethan. His younger brother. For a moment, Liam couldn't move. He just stood there, staring, as his brain struggled to catch up. Ethan, grinning like an idiot, leaned in and whispered something in Sophia's ear. She laughed again, the sound so familiar, but now it felt foreign, taunting. Liam wanted to burst into the room and demand answers, but his feet stayed rooted to the ground. They kissed. It wasn't a fleeting kiss, either. It was passionate, intimate, like they'd done it 100 times before. Liam's fists clenched at his sides, and he felt a wave of nausea, or was it fury, wash over him. Finally, he forced himself to back away, retreating to the main hall. His mind raced, torn between disbelief and rage. Ethan, of all people. His own brother. Liam grabbed another drink from a passing waiter, forcing a neutral expression as he rejoined the crowd. His mind was a whirlwind of emotions, but he couldn't let it show, not here, not now. He needed to think, to process what he'd just seen. But the gala wasn't the place for that. Sophia returned a few minutes later, her mask of composure firmly in place. She smiled and laughed as if nothing had happened, her emerald gown shimmering under the chandelier light. Liam watched her from across the room, his jaw tightening with every passing second. He couldn't stop himself. His legs moved on their own, his hand shoving open the door to the backstage area with a force that made it crash against the wall. The sharp sound echoed through the narrow room, cutting through the low hum of whispered conversation. Sophia and Ethan froze, their heads snapping toward him like startled animals caught in headlights. "What the hell is this?" Liam spat, his voice rough, each word dragging out the bile rising in his throat. Ethan's eyes widened, panic flashing across his face. Sophia, however, barely flinched. She straightened, adjusting her gown as if Liam had interrupted nothing more scandalous than a casual conversation. That composure, that arrogance, it made Liam's blood boil. "Liam," she said smoothly, her voice calm, measured, too calm. "What are you doing back here?" "What am I doing back here?" he echoed, taking a step forward. "I could ask you the same damn question. What are you doing sneaking around with him?" He jabbed a finger at Ethan, who was already retreating a step. Ethan tried to play it off, raising his hands in mock surrender. "Look, man, this isn't what it looks like." "Bullshit." Liam snapped. "I saw you. I saw the two of you together." Sophia's expression hardened. "So now you're spying on me? Following me like some kind of creep? God, Liam, how pathetic can you get?" Her words hit him like a slap, but he wasn't about to back down, not after what he'd just witnessed. "Don't you dare turn this around on me," he said, his voice rising. "You're the one sneaking around behind my back." He turned to Ethan, his voice rising. "And with him, of all people? My brother? Are you kidding me?" Ethan looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole. I didn't mean for this to happen." "Didn't mean for this to happen?" Liam barked a bitter laugh. "What, did you trip and accidentally shove your tongue down her throat?" "Liam, stop." Sophia snapped, stepping between them. "You're overreacting." "Overreacting?" Liam stared at her, incredulous. "You're screwing my brother, Sophia. How am I supposed to react?" She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms over her chest. "You're being dramatic. It's not as big of a deal as you're making it out to be." "Not a big deal?" Liam felt a hot surge of anger, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. "You think this is some kind of joke? Do you have any idea?" Ethan cut him off, stepping forward with his hands still raised. "Look, can we calm down and talk about this? I know it looks bad, but..." Liam didn't let him finish. The fury bubbling inside him boiled over, and before he knew what he was doing, his fist connected with Ethan's face. The impact sent him stumbling backward, crashing into a chair with a loud thud. "Liam, stop it!" Sophia shouted, grabbing his arm. But he shrugged her off, his chest heaving, his heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. Ethan groaned, holding his jaw as he struggled to sit up. "You bastard," Liam growled, taking a step toward him. "You come into my life, take my money, my trust, and now this?" The chaos in the backstage room was interrupted by the arrival of two security guards, their faces a mix of concern and confusion. "What's going on here?" one of them demanded, glancing between Liam, Sophia, and Ethan. Sophia immediately slipped into her role as the composed victim. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice trembling just enough to sound genuine. "My husband, he's had a little too much to drink. That's all." Liam stared at her, stunned. "You've got to be kidding me." "Sophia," he hissed under his breath, stepping closer to her. "Don't ruin this night. You'll regret it." "Ruin it," he repeated, his voice dripping with disbelief. "You've already done that." The security guards stepped between them, their hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Sir, maybe it's best if you step outside and take a breather," one of them said cautiously. Liam looked at Ethan, who was still slumped in the chair, avoiding his gaze. Then at Sophia, who stood tall, her mask of composure firmly back in place. For a moment, he considered pushing past them, continuing the fight, but what would that accomplish? They weren't worth it. Not here. Not like this. The next morning, Liam woke up in the guest room of their Portsmouth home, his head pounding and his thoughts a tangled mess. He hadn't slept much, and when he did, it was shallow and restless. The image of Sophia and Ethan together played on an endless loop in his mind. He made his way to Sophia's home office, a sleek, modern space filled with designer furniture and framed photos of their life together. It felt like a museum of lies. Liam started with her desk, rifling through drawers filled with the usual clutter, stationery, planners, receipts. But then he found something unusual, a small, leather-bound journal tucked into the back of a drawer. His breath caught as he opened it. The first few pages were innocuous enough, to-do lists, event notes, sketches of layouts. But as he flipped further, the entries became personal. Intimate. "Ethan makes me feel alive in a way Liam never could." The words blurred on the page as Liam's pulse quickened. He turned the page. "Liam doesn't even notice when I use his designs for Ethan and me. He's so wrapped up in his work, he wouldn't notice if I walked out the door tomorrow." Liam gritted his teeth, forcing himself to keep reading. The wolf mask was the perfect touch. Liam would never understand the irony, his art, our secret joke. He slammed the journal shut, his hands trembling. His mouth was dry, and his head felt like it was going to explode. She'd used him. Mocked him. Taken the thing he cared about most, his work, his passion, and turned it into a punchline for their affair. Furious, Liam opened the journal again, flipping through the remaining pages. Each one was worse than the last, detailed accounts of their rendezvous, notes about how to keep him in the dark, even a list of excuses she'd prepared in case he started asking questions. It was all there. In her neat, precise handwriting. Liam couldn't sit still. He paced the room, the journal clutched tightly in his hand, his mind racing. How long had this been going on? How many times had he missed the signs? And how could she do this to him? To them? He needed more. He needed proof. Liam returned to the Crimson Crown Theatre later that day, his mind racing with a mix of anger and determination. The theater was quiet, the gala decorations still being dismantled by a small crew of workers. He slipped past them unnoticed, heading straight for the forgotten wing he'd discovered the night before. The hidden door was still ajar, the faint draft from the staircase below brushing against his face. Liam descended the narrow steps, his phone's flashlight cutting through the darkness. The air grew colder with each step, and the smell of mildew grew stronger. At the bottom of the stairs, he found himself in the forgotten basement workshop. Dust coated every surface, and the room was cluttered with old costumes, props, and crumbling playbills. But amidst the chaos, there was a desk, modern and completely out of place. Liam approached it, his heart pounding. The desk was covered in papers, and it didn't take long to realize what they were: forged invoices, contracts, and transfer records, all under his name. His breath caught as he scanned the documents, each one confirming his worst fears. They'd been siphoning money from his business, funneling it into a fake production company Ethan had set up. Tens of thousands of dollars, gone. There were photos, too, printed and spread across the desk. Sophia and Ethan, laughing, posing in masks Liam had designed. One image showed Sophia wearing the wolf mask, her hand raised in a mock toast. Another showed Ethan holding up one of Liam's sketches, a smug grin plastered across his face. It was more than betrayal. It was mockery. Contempt. They hadn't just used him, they'd reveled in it. Liam forced himself to keep looking, even as his stomach churned. There were notes scribbled in the margins of some papers, plans for expanding their scheme, ideas for cutting him out completely once they'd drained him dry. It was all there, laid out in damning detail. At the edge of the desk, he noticed a burner phone, its screen cracked but still functional. He hesitated for only a second before turning it on. The messages were like a knife to the gut. Sophia, he's too busy to notice anything. Honestly, it's pathetic. Ethan, keep him distracted a little longer. We're almost there. Sophia, I'll handle it. He's predictable. Predictable. That word stuck in Liam's head, echoing like a taunt. They thought they had him pegged, that he'd roll over and let them win. But standing in that basement, surrounded by the evidence of their deceit, Liam felt something shift. The anger was still there, but it was sharper now. More focused. He took pictures of everything, every invoice, every note, every photo. The burner phone went into his pocket, its contents a crucial weapon in the fight to come. By the time Liam stepped out of the Crimson Crown Theater that day, he had everything he needed to take them down. The evidence of Sophia and Ethan's betrayal was damning, proof that would not only expose their lies but also bring their schemes crashing down around them. For the first time in weeks, Liam felt like he was in control. He wasn't just reacting anymore. He was planning, moving pieces into place. But Sophia wasn't one to give up her throne so easily. He should have known she wouldn't go down without a fight. The first sign of Sophia's counterattack came 2 days later. Liam was at home, poring over the evidence he'd collected, when his phone buzzed with a text from a colleague. "Hey, are you okay? Just saw the photos. Call me if you need anything." Photos? Liam's stomach sank. He opened his browser and searched his name. It didn't take long to find what they were talking about. Articles. Social media posts. Gossip sites. All with the same damning headline: acclaimed designer accused of domestic violence by wife. Liam's heart pounded as he clicked on one of the links. There was a photo of Sophia, her left eye swollen and bruised, her lips split. She looked fragile, scared, and heartbreakingly convincing. The accompanying article told a story of jealousy, rage, and control. How Liam had been furious about her success, about her friendship with Ethan. How he'd lashed out in anger, attacking her after an argument. The photos were fake. Liam knew that. But to anyone else, they were damning. Sophia had staged the whole thing, carefully crafting a narrative that painted her as the victim and him as the villain. The fallout was immediate. Liam's phone didn't stop buzzing: calls from colleagues, messages from clients, even a few reporters fishing for a comment. Some were concerned. Others accusing. And a few just outright nosy. Social media exploded with outrage, with people calling for boycotts of his designs, accusing him of being a monster. Liam tried to call Sophia, but she didn't answer. Not that he expected her to. She'd made her move, and now it was his turn. The next day, Liam showed up at another gala event, the same one where Sophia had decided to escalate her smear campaign. The venue was a sleek, modern art museum downtown, and the air buzzed with chatter as attendees milled about in their finest. Liam spotted Sophia almost immediately. She was surrounded by a small crowd, her voice soft and mournful as she recounted her fabricated ordeal. Her dress, a simple yet elegant black number, was understated for her usual style, calculated no doubt to further the image of a woman in recovery. As Liam approached, the group noticed him. The conversation faltered, replaced by awkward glances and uneasy shuffling. Sophia turned, her expression shifting from surprise to something more carefully controlled. "Liam," she said, her voice cool and measured. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Clearly," Liam replied, keeping his tone even. "But then again, you've been busy." Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't respond. Instead, one of her friends, someone Liam barely recognized, stepped forward, her voice sharp. "I don't think you should be here. Not after what Sophia's been through." "What Sophia's been through?" Liam cut her off, turning to face the woman directly. "Do you even know the half of it? Or are you just taking her word for it?" "Liam," Sophia said, her tone edged with warning. "This isn't the time or place." "Isn't it?" Liam shot back, his voice rising. "You've had no problem airing dirty laundry in public, Sophia. Why stop now?" The tension in the room was palpable. People were watching, listening, their whispers buzzing like flies around them. Sophia took a step closer, lowering her voice so only Liam could hear. "You're making a scene," she said through gritted teeth. "Walk away before you make this worse for yourself." Liam wanted to argue, to call her out right then and there. But he knew better. Sophia thrived on control, and she was counting on him to lose his. Instead, he leaned in, his voice low and steady. "You can spin whatever story you want, Sophia. But the truth always comes out." The sound of Ethan's footsteps echoed through the backstage corridor as Liam followed him, his heart pounding with a mix of adrenaline and fury. Ethan moved fast, but not fast enough. He didn't know the theater the way Liam did. This was his domain, his sanctuary. If Ethan thought he could lose him here, he was wrong. "Ethan!" Liam called, his voice slicing through the silence. "You can run, but you can't hide." He rounded a corner just in time to see Ethan slip into the storage area. The room was a maze of props and equipment, its shadows dancing under the flickering fluorescent lights. Liam stepped inside, the door creaking shut behind him. "Come out, Ethan," he said, his voice steady despite the rage boiling beneath the surface. "You've been running your mouth for months. Let's hear what you have to say now." Silence. Liam moved deeper into the room, weaving through the clutter. His senses were on high alert, every creak and rustle sharpening his focus. He was here. Liam could feel it. And he wasn't going to get away. Then, out of nowhere, Ethan lunged. A heavy stage prop swung toward Liam, its metallic edge catching the light as it arced through the air. Liam barely dodged, the weapon missing his head by inches. Ethan stood a few feet away, his face twisted with desperation and rage. "You're insane," he shouted, gripping the prop like a makeshift bat. "You've lost it, Liam." "Lost it?" Liam shot back, circling him slowly. "You stole from me. Lied to me. Slept with my wife. And I'm the one who's lost it?" "You don't understand, don't even try," Liam snarled, cutting him off. "I've seen the texts. The recordings. I know everything. So spare me your excuses." Ethan swung again, this time aiming lower. Liam jumped back, the prop smashing into a stack of crates behind him. Splinters flew through the air, the sound reverberating through the room. "You were supposed to help me." Ethan shouted, his voice cracking. You were supposed to support me. Now you look down on me like I was some charity case. Support you? Liam laughed bitterly. I gave you everything, Ethan. Money. Connections. Chances. And this is how you repay me? Ethan swung again, but this time Liam was ready. He ducked, grabbing a nearby prop, a long wooden staff, and using it to block his attack. The clash of wood and metal rang out, and for a moment, they were locked in a brutal dance, each strike fueled by years of resentment and betrayal. The fight was raw, chaotic. Ethan's attacks were wild, driven by desperation. But Liam had the advantage. This theater was his home, and he knew every inch of it. He used the space to his benefit, ducking behind props and forcing Ethan into tight corners. Each time Ethan swung, Liam countered, the fury in his chest giving him strength. Finally, Liam saw his opening. As Ethan raised the prop for another strike, Liam feinted to the side, then swung his staff hard, knocking the weapon from Ethan's hands. It clattered to the ground, the sound echoing through the room. Before Ethan could recover, Liam grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the wall. Ethan struggled, but Liam was stronger, fueled by a determination that overpowered his panic. You don't get to play the victim, Liam said through gritted teeth. Not after everything you've done. Liam, stop. Sophia's voice rang out, sharp and desperate. Liam turned to see her standing in the doorway, her expression a mix of fear and defiance. She stepped into the room, her heels clicking against the floor. Let him go, she pleaded, her voice trembling. This isn't going to solve anything. Don't you dare pretend to care, Liam said, his grip on Ethan tightening. You've done enough damage. Liam, please, she said, taking another step closer. I never meant for it to go this far. Her words only fueled Liam's anger. You never meant for it to go this far, he repeated, his voice rising. You didn't just cross a line, Sophia. You obliterated it. He let go of Ethan, letting him slump to the ground, and turned to face her fully. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't know what this was about? She opened her mouth to respond, but Liam didn't let her. He pulled out his phone, opening the voice recordings he'd found in the hidden wing. With the press of a button, her own voice filled the room. I never loved him. I married him because it was convenient, because he could give me the life I wanted. That's all he ever was to me. A means to an end. Sophia's face paled as the words played, her mask of composure slipping away. Ethan looked up from the floor, his expression shifting to one of betrayal as he processed the recording. You used me too, he muttered, his voice low but venomous. All of this, it was about you, wasn't it? Sophia's lips parted, but no words came. For the first time, she had nothing to say. The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan pushed himself to his feet, his gaze locked on Sophia. You're a real piece of work, he said, his tone filled with contempt. I thought we were in this together. But you were just using me too. He stormed out of the room without another word, leaving Sophia and Liam alone. She looked at him, her eyes wide with something that almost resembled fear. What are you going to do? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam didn't answer. The theater was a cacophony of chaos when the authorities arrived. The whispers of scandal that had simmered throughout the night erupted into a full-blown storm. People who had come to admire art and luxury now stood gawking at the unraveling spectacle, a real-life drama more riveting than anything the stage had ever seen. Liam stood near the edge of the room, the burner phone and stolen designs clutched in his hand. Sophia and Ethan had been cornered, their faces pale under the harsh light. Sophia's attempts to regain control of the situation had failed spectacularly. Her words, once so carefully chosen and commanding, now fell flat, drowned out by the weight of the evidence Liam had revealed. When the police entered the scene, the crowd parted like the Red Sea, their murmurs giving way to silence. The lead officer, Detective Rebecca Hayes, approached Liam, her expression professional but curious. "You're Liam Carter?" she asked. Liam nodded and handed over the evidence. This should explain everything. The next moments passed in a blur. The burner phone, the forged documents, the incriminating recordings, everything Liam had collected was catalogued and reviewed by the officers. Sophia and Ethan tried to talk their way out of it, but the evidence was undeniable. Sophia's voice, recorded in her own words, sealed their fate. "I can explain," she stammered, her calm exterior cracking for the first time. "This is all a misunderstanding. He's trying to ruin me." "You did that yourself," Liam said, his voice cold. "This isn't a misunderstanding, Sophia. It's the truth." Ethan, for his part, was less composed. "This is all on her," he yelled, pointing at Sophia. "She orchestrated everything. I was just doing what she told me to do." "Coward," Sophia hissed, her composure unraveling further. "Don't you dare put this all on me. You were more than willing to play your part." Detective Hayes stepped in, separating the two before the argument could escalate. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Sophia and Ethan were handcuffed and led toward the exit. Sophia turned to Liam one last time, her eyes pleading. "Liam, please," she said, her voice breaking. "You don't have to do this. We can fix this." "I made a mistake, but I didn't mean," Liam cut her off. "You didn't mean to get caught, Sophia. That's all this is to you." Her expression crumbled, and for a moment, she looked like she might try to fight back again. But the officers moved her forward, and she disappeared through the door, leaving only the echoes of her heels behind. In the days that followed, the fallout was immense. The media caught wind of the story, and Sophia's carefully curated reputation was obliterated. Headlines told the tale of fraud, deceit, and betrayal, painting her and Ethan as the villains they were. Liam's name, once dragged through the mud by her lies, was cleared. But clearing his name wasn't enough. He needed to rebuild, not just his business, but himself. Sophia and Ethan had tried to destroy him, to take everything he'd worked for and make it their own. They'd failed. And now, it was his turn to rise from the ashes. Weeks later, Liam stood alone in the Crimson Crown Theatre, the empty seats stretching out before him. The stage was bathed in soft golden light, and on it stood his newest collection, a series of costumes inspired by unmasking the truth. Each piece told a story, blending elegance with raw emotion. They were a reflection of his journey, his resilience, his refusal to be broken. As he looked out at the empty theater, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. The past was behind him, and the future was his to shape.